And, he tried to get me to sign something, in 2019. And I was like, yeah, what do you want? And he goes, well, we've heard you've been speaking out about Dan Schneider. Then he goes, Dan and I would like to have you come into a room and come up with some type of agreement. I remember Dan looks at me, do you understand that it's called Zoe 101 and not Nicole 101? And Dan was like, no one likes you.
Oh.
He just screamed
This just keeps getting worse.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Hola amigos, como muchos ya lo saben, Alexa Nikolas es una actriz mejor conocida por su papel de Nicole en Soy 101, serie de Nickelodeon creada por el controversial Dan Schneider. A través de los años, Alexa ha dado una serie de declaraciones contando su mala experiencia mientras que trabajó en Soy 101. Recientemente, en el podcast llamado Real Pod with Victoria Garrick, habló abiertamente de todo lo que le sucedió en aquellos años. Y no solo eso, sino lo que vino después de que el show terminó. Nos cuenta con detalle lo que sucedió con Jamie Lynn Spears, Victoria Justice, entre otros de sus excompañeros de reparto, Dan Schneider por supuesto, y hasta la misma Britney Spears. Alexa incluso nos comparte que fueron a buscarla de parte de Dan Schneider para llegar a un acuerdo económico y así jamás revelar lo que sucedió en aquellos años, o por lo menos que dejara de tocar ese tema. Fue lo mismo que le quisieron hacer a Janet McCurdy, que también es mencionada por Alexa en el podcast más adelante. Así que sin más que decir, comencemos. El podcast comienza de lleno con el tema de Soy 101. Alexa comenta que sufrir de bullying a corta edad ya es bastante malo, pero que si a eso le agregas estar trabajando y tener un contrato de por medio, es una presión aún mayor para cualquiera.
Growing up on Zoe 101 was just very traumatic because, like with high school, I know that in middle school, elementary school, every kid can deal with bullying. But when you have a contract and you're working for a network, it puts a lot more pressure on a kid. I just always felt that my voice wasn't heard. That's a lot of pressure.
Comenta que al principio habló sobre lo que le estaba pasando a los adultos de ese momento, a las personas que estaban a cargo del show, etc., pero que ellos se encargaron de hacerle sentir miedo y presión de perder su trabajo si seguía tocando el tema del bullying, cosa que realmente pasa muy a menudo en la industria, estar a la merced de lo que digan los que tienen más poder, en este caso en un programa para decidir quién se queda y quién no.
I mean, I was like really scared of losing my job. Being on Zoe 101, it was like, okay, if I say how I feel, then I might not be able to come back here, which is something that I love. Because at first I felt comfortable telling them that I felt uncomfortable on set and that there was bullying happening. But then they reminded me that I was on a set and that it wasn't Nicole 101 and that it was Zoe 101.
They said that to you.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not Nicole 101.
Yeah. Oh, multiple times. Like multiple times.
Oh my gosh.
Multiple times. I was hoping that the adults would have more insights into how to make sure that all the kids got along. But the adults were more interested in finances and the network, etc.
Alexa comenta que incluso una vez fue empujada hacia una roca justo antes de comenzar una escena por nada más y nada menos que Christine Herrera, quien tiene el papel de Dana. Realmente ella sufría de bullying no solo por Jamie, sino por más personas dentro del elenco a un grado físico. Ella comenta que le dijo a su madre por supuesto, pero que los productores no hicieron nada al respecto.
Because like even the last episode of the first season, the character Dana, we had to like hide behind a rock in Malibu and then like emerge from the rock and like run towards everybody. And then she pushed me into the rock at like random. And I had to just like turn it back on. They called action and like you're running towards, whatever. And so I cried to my mom afterwards, letting her know what happened. And she let the producers know, but unfortunately they didn't care, basically.
Posteriormente, habla de Janet McCurdy y su libro. Alexa comenta que abordó el tema de Dan Schneider en el 2018. Sin embargo, no fue hasta que Janet sacó su libro que el tema tomó una fuerza importante.
It's so interesting because I came forward about Dan Schneider and the Nickelodeon situation in 2018, and no one seemed to care. And then once, Jeanette McCurdy made her book, and it was a published book. Then, press got super involved.
También mencionan el libro de Jamie Lynn Spears que vio la luz a principios de este año, enero 2022, donde presuntamente Jamie hace una serie de declaraciones falsas en contra de Alexa Nikolas. También hablan sobre el supuesto reboot de Soy 101 que Jamie quiso orquestar sacando un video musical con algunos de los excompañeros del elenco original. Alexa comenta que Jamie se disculpó con ella por todo lo que le había hecho, pero con la intención de que Alexa apareciera en el video de la reunión de Soy 101.
Jamie Lynn's book came out, and then it
Yes.
was kind of like all of that, and
It was
then
so
you
much.
commented on it, and then she and then the Zoe 101 reboot video, which is a whole other thing. So it was kind of like all those things came to a head.
It was a lot. Yeah, her book, it was so weird because when I was 8 months pregnant, obviously before that, I remember the reunion thing happening. And I thought that was so bizarre. I was going on my baby moon and she reached out to me and apologized for everything. Okay, this person acknowledges what they did. An apology should be full on acknowledgement of what you did. So when she gave me that apology via text, I thought, wow, this is really incredible. For the first time, getting an apology from my bully and while I'm pregnant, and that feels very healing. But then it was also like an invitation to the music video. So you're like, oh, okay, so it's an apology to get me onto the music video, which the music video was a fake kind of reboot of Zoe 101 that she was orchestrating. But for me, I was 8 months pregnant. I just said, hey, thank you so much for the apology. I'm not able to do the reboot music video. I'm going on a baby moon. And I wish you all the luck.
Posteriormente, Alexa comenta que tiempo después de lo del video, sale a la luz el audio de Britney Spears, donde relata todo lo que le había sucedido con su familia, y es en ese momento en que ella se da cuenta de que las intenciones de Jamie no eran para nada buenas ni honestas.
A few months after that was the release of Britney Spears' audio of what she was going through. I turned mentally to Jamie Lynn Spears and was like, what the fuck are you doing, basically? You're trying to clear your tracks in a way. And what a weird time to be doing that,
Abordan el tema de las declaraciones falsas que Jamie escribió en su libro sobre Alexa Nikolas. Alexa comenta que no tenía ni idea de que Jamie había escrito sobre ella en ese libro, donde Jamie pone a Alexa como la mala del cuento.
And so basically Jamie sent me a text message saying, I want to send you something. It was about a couple weeks before her book release.
I was gonna say, don't tell me she sent you her book.
Oh yeah, she was going to. Oh no, she was going to without telling me what was in the book.
Didn't she lie about you in the book?
Yes, multiple times.
But then she sent it as a gift.
She wanted to. I told her no. And then 8 days later, all of a sudden people are sending me her book leak. And it's just all these lies about me. So I just had a baby and you want to send me a book with lies about me after you apologize to me about your bullying. And now all of a sudden it's me being the bully and the bad guy in the book. And you're like, what is going on?
Alexa comenta que ella genuinamente creía que Jamie se había disculpado de corazón, pero tiempo después de eso salió el libro. Alexa nos comparte que quien sí le dio una verdadera disculpa honesta fue Britney Spears por una mala experiencia cuando trabajó en Soy 101.
But what's funny is that Britney Spears did give me an apology. Oh. And she gave me the best apology ever. So she DM'd me on Instagram. First, she defended me publicly on her Instagram, saying you lied about Alexa Nikolas. And that was a huge moment for me because when she was yelling at me in that trailer, she was my pop idol. And then to finally see my childhood pop idol defend me was just a full circle healing.
Alexa relata lo que sucedió en aquel momento con Britney, además de que mencionan a Victoria Justice, que ya era parte del elenco en ese entonces en la segunda temporada.
Victoria Justice and Jamie Lynn Spears were kind of getting very close out of nowhere. It was just so bad at that point. I just wasn't invited to anything.
Oh, cameras say action and you're besties.
Correct.
That's confusing.
It is.
For a 12-year-old.
It's traumatic.
Alexa Nikolas hace muy poco estuvo en otro podcast llamado Vulnerable con Christy Carlson. en el que detalla un poco más de lo que sucedió con Victoria Justice. Comenta que al principio eran muy buenas amigas, pero después de un malentendido, Victoria se unió a Jamie Lynn Spears.
So in season 2, we had a new character, Victoria Justice. And we were best friends for most of that season until one day, I think her and I ended up getting like in a tiff
Okay.
about a boy. I thought we were gonna be fine the next day, but I
Okay.
show up on set and Jamie's sitting in there and Victoria's standing, and the entire second season, Jamie never spoke to Victoria once because she was friends with me. So I walk into the trailer and they're whispering to each other, and they turn around to me and laugh. And I'm like, oh, no, like, no, this isn't happening again.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Jamie le dijo a Britney Spears que Alexa era la que le estaba haciendo bullying a ella. Por eso es que Britney estaba molesta con Alexa Nicholas.
And as a kid, I was like, oh my God, maybe Britney Spears is gonna like step in and be the mediator that I've been wanting this whole time. And I remember sitting down and Britney just kind of started yelling at me and telling me, you know, that I'm not gonna work again, basically. And that, you know, she doesn't like what her sister is going through. So I just remember seeing like the pop idol of my childhood, like yelling at me and telling me I wasn't gonna have a career again.
And are you thinking that Jamie must have told her Alexa bullies me?
Correct.
And so then Britney thought,
Britney told me that, yeah.
Alexa continúa relatando lo que le sucedió después de su encuentro con Britney Spears. Dice que al final, quien acudió a arreglar la situación, entre muchas comillas, fue nada más y nada menos que Dan Schneider, con una actitud antipática con Alexa.
I remember just feeling like I was gonna puke. It was like 2 years of bullying that when it got to Britney Spears, I just felt like a total loser at that point. And 15 minutes later, Dan Schneider starts coming up the stairs and he just looks at me and he's like, what now? And then about 5 minutes later, he comes back in with a box. And it's like a DVD player, like, and he's like, does this make you feel better?
Alexa comenta que por supuesto su madre y su familia, al estar al tanto de todo lo que le hacían, ya no querían que Alexa estuviera en el set, pero básicamente estaba obligada a continuar por el contrato que tenía.
And then he goes, you have to go back on set. And I remember my mom going, what? Like, she can't go back on set? This is the last time for us as a family, basically, that she's treated like this. Like, she can't go back on set. And I remember looking at my mom, and I mean, we're in a contract.
En el podcast Vulnerable, Alexa Nicholas detalla que momentos después Dan les dijo que hablarían del tema más tarde, y así fue. Llamaron a Alexa para que hablaran con Dan, pero esto solo resultó en otra mala experiencia para ella.
I remember going in, and so I remember Dan looks at me and goes, do you understand that it's called Zoe 101 and not Nicole 101? And so he, you know, I started crying and I said, I really don't want to be a problem. And Dan was like, no one likes you.
oh,
You know, he just screamed
this just
it.
keeps getting worse.
Yeah, yeah, it's horrible.
Oh my God.
And I just went,
Oh.
okay. And I remember getting up and I was like, I gotta get out of here. And
Yeah.
so I ran out and I just went to my mom and I said, I never, ever, ever want to go back on Nickelodeon ever again.
Más tarde, abordan el tema de algunas de las escenas raras que tiene Soy 101 y otras series como Victorious con Ariana Grande y demás. Clips que ya son muy famosos a este punto. Escenas que te hacen preguntarte qué demonios está pasando y por qué hay este tipo de escenas en un show para menores.
I mean, some of these scenes that I watch back now,
Can you believe
who approves that? At Ariana Grande video where she's on the bed, like putting her foot in her mouth.
it's your responsibility to know how that's going to be perceived?
Did you have any off-screen interactions with Dan that you thought were uncomfortable?
Whenever I had wardrobe fittings, he always had to be in them. And yeah, so there, thank God there was a curtain, but he was literally on a chair right outside of the curtain.
Alexa nos comparte que en el 2019 los abogados de Dan Schneider trataron de silenciarla con dinero, justo como trataron de hacer con Janet McCurdy para que no hablaran del tema. Pero por supuesto, Alexa rechazó la oferta.
And, you know, he tried to get me to sign something, you know, in 2019. And I was like, yeah, what do you want? And he goes, well, we've heard you've been speaking out about Dan Schneider. Then he goes, Dan and I would like to have you come into a room and come up with some type of agreement.
Después de esto, hablan sobre los contratos NDA, que significa Non-Disclosure Agreements. Son los que se utilizan para callar a las personas a cambio de dinero. Es un mecanismo para garantizar que la información confidencial compartida entre dos o más partes no sea revelada a terceros.
Do you feel like they were going to try to offer you money
NDA.
to silence you?
NDA. And a perfect example of the cover-up is something like an NDA, which Dan Schneider or Nickelodeon tried to get Jeanette McCurdy to sign.
El podcast finaliza con Alexa agradeciendo por el apoyo y que ha sido una parte muy importante de su proceso de superación y de terapia el hablarlo abiertamente. Esperemos que esto sirva como una ventana y se puedan evitar este tipo de situaciones con otros menores, y que si alguien se da cuenta de que están pasando cosas que no deberían de suceder, ya sea en un set, en la escuela, con la familia, etc., no permitan y alcen la voz. Te recuerdo que este es un resumen del podcast Real Pod with Victoria Garrick. Si lo quieres ver completo, el link va a estar en la descripción. Solo recuerda que está en inglés. Regálame un like y suscríbete si quieres ver más videos como este. Me ayudarías mucho. Te ha hablado Cristian Alba y bye.